Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 320 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How are you today, Richard?
Hey, Seth. Doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We have kind of a weird week podcast-wise. Not a ton of news, but we have a few topics, and I think they're pretty interesting. But before we get into that, we got another co-host in Krim. What's up this fine Monday, Krim?
Nothing much. Just, like another week, this time with some potential promos, so...
Yeah, so topic-wise today, we're kind of in the calm before the storm. We're past Time Spy Remastered spoiler season. That comes out the end of this week. We're like 10 days or something away from the start of Strixhaven spoiler season, which is the 25th of this month, apparently. So we don't have any like spoilers to talk about or new sets, but we have some interesting topics. A big one that we're going to start with is the idea of outside assistance on Arena. This is a conversation that came up on Twitter over the weekend about streaming in tournaments, getting help from friends in tournaments. In digital, it's a little different than in paper where you got judges there that can see it. Is that something we should worry about? Is there, I don't know, even a way to enforce it? So we're going to talk about outside assistance in digital Magic tournaments. We got some Modern Horizons 2 news this week, and we also got some new promos coming from Japan that we wanted to mention. And then, of course, answering your fish mail. So that's kind of the overview of today's cast. Before we get into that, a reminder that our show today is brought to you by Card Conduit. And if you've ever tried to sell your Magic cards, it's a lot of work. You got to do a lot of typing, a lot of sorting, a lot of shipping. Well, Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. And if you want to avoid all the hassle and all the time it takes to sell your cards, this new service from the folks at Card Hoarder will sort, grade, and sell your Magic cards for you. And once the shipment's processed, you'll get the proceeds minus their fee. And right now, you can get a 10% discount by heading over to cardconduit.com/goldfish. So thank you to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. Let's start with this idea of outside assistance, I guess most specifically on Arena, but it applies to Magic Online too. Outside assistance in digital Magic tournaments. And just to kind of set the stage, the idea of outside assistance is if you're at a paper GP or something, you obviously can't like be playing a match and look back to your friend and be like, hey, what do you think? Should I keep this? Should I mulligan? Like, what should I play this turn? That's against the rules. But if you're sitting in your house and you're just playing a Magic tournament, how would anyone even know if you're doing that? Or if you're streaming and your Twitch chat's like, hey, you forgot about something. Is that outside assistance? Is that something that should like be banned and regulated? So first off, what do you think about this idea of outside assistance in digital Magic tournaments? Like, is it even something we should care about? Is it even worth having this conversation?
You know, I could see why. Like, I mean, I get it because playing in paper tournaments, there would always be, that was extremely frowned upon. Don't comment on the match. Don't do all this stuff. Whereas like when you're on Twitch, that's like exactly what chat is doing. And I myself don't think much of it, but that's because I am the person streaming and I'll always interact with chat. But I guess my intent behind interacting with chat isn't much so more about getting an answer on how to play Magic or how to make this play or how for them to beat me. It's more of just interacting and engaging. So I think it's totally fine because the spirit of why I'm talking to chat, why I'm looking at chat and all of that isn't to like get an edge on the opponent, right? I mean, although it does get into this gray area where I've competed in some tournaments, you know what I mean? And then you'll kind of be like, oh, well, should I do this, this, and this? But then I realize I probably shouldn't look at the answer because am I getting outside assistance? I don't know. It feels weird. Only when I'm like in a tournament though, like on an online tournament, I feel a little weird, but it's just like one of those things where I don't know how to feel about it, right? It's like, ugh.
And I think it's important to point out that I haven't seen anyone arguing about just like playing on the ladder, like a random stream. I haven't heard anyone coming down and being like, hey, like, I don't know, you made it to Mythic and you were streaming and that's like cheating or something. So I think that the conversation that's been happening is more focused on like the tournament end. If you're playing an actual tournament, that's where some people seem to have an issue with that, maybe being outside assistance, which you kind of like hinted at yourself, I guess, feeling weird about it. What do you think about this issue, Richard?
So, like from a competitive perspective, it shouldn't be allowed, right? From a competitive perspective, it's 1v1. However, it is 100% unenforceable, right? So we should just forego this notion that online tournaments are highly competitive, right? Online tournaments are just like a for fun thing, and we should embrace the streaming aspect of it, right? Like you should be able to talk to chat. You should be able to play with your friends because there's no way to enforce it, right? Like if you say no outside assistance, how do you enforce it? Like there's zero chance it's enforced. So you might as well just go the other way and say, like, you know, you're not going to win a pro tour online, right? Like if you want to actually determine the best player, it has to be a controlled environment where there's judges and there's no outside assistance, like no overlays, no friends, no chat, etc. But for just a normal tournament, it's like for fun, right? So have at it, right? Like, you know, the streaming part is probably more important, right? Like when you stream, you are probably handicapping yourself immensely, right? If your opponent just tunes into your stream and sees your hand, like it's over for you. But you're like, whatever, right? It's for fun, it's for entertainment, the collective experience. So I would say for online tournaments, they should not take themselves as seriously and just, you know, relax the rules because there's no way to enforce like the actual strict rules.
Yeah, I think it matters the level of the tournament as well. Like one of the things people brought up as far as the enforceability issue is like, technically you could require everyone to stream. You could require there to be some sort of like all your monitors being captured and like sent to Wizards so they could see everything you were possibly doing on your computer. The thing is, you can't really do that for an arena open. Like, I think the idea of having like an arena open or an arena qualifier is you want a ton of people to play. Like, we're moving into mobile. You want someone to be able to like pick up their iPhone or their Android or whatever and like join this tournament. That's good for Wizards. That's someone giving them money to play in this tournament. So I don't think Wizards wants to have there be this huge barrier to play any sort of arena tournament. On the other hand, when they do like their MPL things, where it's just, you know, you have whatever, 30 people that are playing, it's all MPL versus rivals. If they want to have a higher level of enforcement for that to make it more like MPL-y, I think that would be fine. Like if that's a concern, but I really think kind of like you said, you got to value accessibility on Arena because Arena is supposed to be like the new player client, the client anyone can play, the one with the free to play mode. And if it's like, oh, you have to have a webcam, you have to be streaming, you have to have all this special software to play an Arena Open or something, I think that greatly hurts Arena. The other thing is, I don't know if I would consider Twitch chat to be assistance in general. Like my experience streaming is,
wow,
I do way worse. Like the definition of assistance, I believe it's supposed to be like helpful. Twitch chat, a lot of the times, and I love you Twitch chat, but most of my experience with Twitch chat is explaining why I can't like ghost quarter a Lotus Field for the 10th time in a row because it has hexproof or something, or fatal push a slippery boggle. Like, yeah, there are times when Twitch chat points out something I completely missed. And there's even times when we win a match because of that, where I didn't see something and they're like, hey, look at this. And then we end up winning. But if I just compare my win percentage, like streaming versus just playing off camera, it's meaningfully higher. Like I think it's close to like 15 percentage points higher. So I think over the long run, sure, maybe once in a while, you'll win a match you would have lost because of chat. But over the long run, because you're multitasking, because you're trying to entertain, because you're answering a ton of questions, you shouldn't be streaming if your only goal is to like win a tournament. Like you are handicapping yourself in my experience. What do you think, Krim? Is streaming a benefit or a drawback if your only goal is to win a tournament? Obviously, I stream because it's fun and I want to interact with the chat. Like that's my primary goal over winning. But if you're just trying to win, do you think that chat's actually, an upside or a drawback?
You know, once again, love chat, but I'm gonna have to align with you there. It is like I was able to win a tournament online, but it's way different, right? Because I'm still trying to juggle entertaining and all of that too, like you had mentioned. So yeah, like my percentage points are much higher when I'm playing by myself and just kind of off stream. So love chat, but I think actually having that and like having to multitask is a huge drawback. Like it's kind of just like in a paper tournament, if you're sitting there and you're like double queuing, you're playing Hearthstone, you're playing another game, you're doing all these other things at the same time, you're running all these operations while also playing your tournament game. So it's a lot harder to win while streaming.
I mean that's the non-optimized way, right? Imagine you are LSV and you are playing Paulo, but Reed Duke is in your chat, right? It's like 2v1 at this point, right? Like that is the better way to get an advantage, right? Or maybe Seth is streaming and LSV decides to pop in and drops him a line he didn't see, right? And, you know, Seth ignores the other 900 lines of random Mythic Arena players and listens to LSV, right? So there are definitely ways you could get an advantage, but for the average person, you're right? Just the act of streaming, the fact that you have to talk to people, you know, you'll play significantly worse. And then you got to cut the noise because half of chat will be incorrect. Maybe there's a correct line in there somewhere, but good luck finding it, right? And your opponent could be in your chat too, giving you a severe disadvantage. So, but there are ways. Like imagine playing against an MPL member who lives in a team house and they have 4 teammates huddled around their computer, right? Kind of like during back in the day when we had pro tours and there were pro tour houses. You see them drafting on Moto and you see like 4 of them together, like working together on like some ideas or some strats. Like good luck being the player playing against them, right? Like there's no way you're gonna win, right? So like that could happen.
Or maybe you do win.
Maybe you do win and you just like put 5 notches in your belt to take down 5 MPL members at once, right?
You wouldn't even know though.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't know. So,
and I think that's part of the issue with focusing on streaming, because some people are like, oh, just like make everyone stream with a 10-minute delay or something, which
why
really
stream?
dislike that. Well,
Right,
yeah, exactly.
right,
like I dislike that solution because it just kills your stream.
I mean, have you seen, since the pandemic started, right? People go to school still and they take exams. Have you seen the Reddit threads of how like people try to cheat during exams and how basically all the attempts to circumvent this is futile? Like you have to have a webcam and it has to be pointed at your face and your eyes can like never look off the screen. And they're like, wow, get your buddy to stand behind your monitor holding up a laptop and then he'll use like Morse code to, you know, like there's always ways to get around it, right? There's no way you can make it bulletproof. So like what's the point, right? Like you might as well just embrace it and like make it part of the format, right? Like, you know, if you win a large arena tournament online, there is an asterisk beside it, right? You don't know if that was a player playing. You don't know if they had help. You don't know anything, right? So there's just a little asterisk there, which I think is fine, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the other problem with focusing on streaming in specific and like Twitch chat, whether or not it's assistance, is there's tons of other ways you can get assistance. Like you want to know what the best assistance is being like a pro level player and having a lot of friends that's a pro level players and being able to be like LSV and just like Discord Reed Duke or something, which how would anyone ever know that? It wouldn't be on screen. It would be on a second monitor. You could do it on your phone if you wanted to. And how would anyone ever know? Not that LSV or Reed Duke would do that, but you know what I'm saying? Like just putting stream on a delay, that eliminates the maybe assistance that Twitch chat could theoretically be in some cases, but might not even be. But it doesn't eliminate all the other ways that you could contact someone else, or having 4 people in the house that are, you know, not in front of your camera. Maybe you're not streaming and you got all your friends over and they're like helping you through the draft. So I feel like focusing on Twitch in specific, even if you did make everyone stream on a 10-minute delay, that wouldn't even like solve the problem. That's not like no one can ever get outside assistance. There's tons of ways you could get assistance from someone if that's what you wanted to do without using Twitch chat or streaming at all.
I mean, you can just have your own notes on a piece of paper and read it, right? That's not allowed during a paper tournament. That's only allowed during sideboarding. So you can just do very simple things like that, right? That, you know, theoretically, you know, you shouldn't be able to do in a paper tournament. You can have like your little deck primer up. You know, what do I do if my opponent turn 2 Tarmogoyfs, right? Easy victory,
concede,
right? Like you can have all your notes there. Like there's so many ways to gain an advantage in an online tournament over a paper tournament.
Yeah, and we've already seen like Mythic Invitationals where if Wizards does want to run like a real quote unquote tournament on Arena, you get everyone in the same place and you have 2 computers up on a stage and you eliminate it. And then it's essentially the same as a paper tournament, assuming like Arena doesn't crash or whatever and mess up things that way. But you know what I'm saying? Like in that situation, it's the same. So if you want to do a pro tour or something and you're concerned about outside assistance, there are ways to do it. Like people run digital tournaments and everyone's in the same event. So does that mean we should be discounting arena results. Like when you hear, oh, someone won, I don't know, the Keldheim, whatever, which is apparently supposed to be kind of like a pro tour or something. Do you think of that? You personally think of that the same as winning a paper pro tour in the past?
I mean, I would still say that's quite an accomplishment, right? Like you have a lot going against you. And yeah, you do have some things that are going for you too, but like I would still say we shouldn't discount it. It's still quite the feat because yeah, like we had mentioned, right? Like we're still doing a lot of things while streaming. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that like well, no, I wouldn't even say it's lesser. I would say it's still pretty decent. If like I won an online pro tour and a paper pro tour, I would consider them the same or whatever. Mythic Championship, Mythic Invitational, paper or online, doesn't matter. I would still say they're both quite.
I mean, even with outside assistance, winning like 10 matches of Magic or 12 or whatever, like, is impossible, right? Like, even if you had LSV in your back pocket, you probably wouldn't win a Pro Tour or anything like it. Not even like a Grand Prix, maybe a PTQ you could take down, but even then, like, I wouldn't give it 100% odds. So it is still a feat, but I think there is still an asterisk, right? Like, we don't know if that was the player that did it, right? Like, I think with most kind of e-sporty games, like, if you win a lot of online tournaments, you're still not proven until you win at LAN, right? Because in person is when they know like there's no cheating, there's nothing, nothing can go wrong, right? So a lot of times people have to prove themselves on the biggest tournaments, and those biggest tournaments are usually in person. So I would say it still counts, but I do think there is an asterisk there.
Yeah, I think at the same time, I think it a little bit goes both ways. So yes, I think that there is a bit of an asterisk, but then you could argue it from the other perspective where it's like, oh, I can't remember the guy's name. Do you remember the Amulet Boom player when that deck first took off that was like made the deck popular and was like winning everything, and then it turned out that he got caught stacking his deck and he was actually just like stacking with the perfect Amulet at Titan Hands and he got banned. Like, that can't happen on Arena or on Moto. Like that's so at the same time maybe paper has an asterisk because how do you know if someone's really good at sleight of hand and like actually just cheating right on camera, or like Alex Bertoncini with some of the stuff he pulled off in paper that wouldn't work in an actual digital event. So I guess I could see that side of the argument too, that maybe you get outside assistance potentially in digital, but at the same time, you're not cheating. Because I've also looked at the other way. Like when there's been players who were suspected of cheating in paper, one of the defenses of those players was, well, they also like crush it on Moto, and you can't stack your deck on Moto. So if you're like killing it on Moto, maybe you're not cheating in paper, because that kind of shows that you are at least playing by those rules. So I could see it going both ways as far as which deserves an asterisk. Maybe they're just different. Like maybe they're equally hard to pull off and equally deserving of, praise for being able to win, but maybe they're just a little bit different than each other.
I mean, the answer is Mythic Invitational, right? In person, on computer, no cheating possible, right? But I mean, I don't know, like if you're the kind of person that spends the time, like if you're a confirmed cheater in person, right? In person requires a lot of skill, I would say, right? Like you need to practice like dexterity things, and it's not something that anyone can just do. You need to actually put some time into it. If you were to do that, wouldn't you do the same thing online as well and cheat there too? Like it's much easier to cheat online than in person. So I don't know. Yeah. Right. But it's like, it's very easy to just ask your friend on Discord. It's another thing to like become a magician for like 2 years learning how to like shuffle the bottom card of your library on top while not moving it. Right. Like that's a little difficult compared to, checking the Reddit thread of how to play my deck, right? Like
that's why I'm never worried about anyone thinking I'm a cheater, because they've seen me just try to shuffle a deck normally.
It actually hurts.
So they know there's like no shuffle. Way I'm stacking the deck.
I mean, Seth was most likely a cheat because he didn't properly randomize because he cannot actually shuffle.
Accidentally cheating. That is a risk that I've worried about before. Like, oh, what if my bad shuffling makes people think I'm doing something sketchy when really I'm just really bad at shuffling?
I think that's one of the funniest things, watching you shuffle your deck at like GP Vegas. It just hurt me. I was just like, I don't understand, Seth. What are you doing? I'm bad at shuffling, but like, holy hell.
Oh, watching him try to shuffle like a Black Lotus. Oh.
I was scared then. All right, here's another question for you. Most of most of the pushback about this idea of outside assistance seems to come from kind of like the old guard Magic pros that have been doing this for a very long time, which I guess in one sense makes a lot of sense because they're used to playing paper Magic. Like you come from a tournament structure where outside assistance is like very much against the rules. And if you've been doing that for 20 years, I can see why you'd be like, hey, Twitch chat, like maybe they gave him good advice. That might not be fair. At the same time, aren't old guard Magic pros like known for scouting and having teams like looking over the rail, trying to figure out what cards are in their potential next opponent's decks and so forth? Like, how is that not outside assistance? Like, is this a situation where it's like, it's okay when we do it in our like very elitist professional way that we've done for 20 years, but when some random person can like, you know, have a Twitch stream and maybe someone gave them advice, we can't have that because, you know, so do you think there's any like elitism in this with how the breakdown has been as far as who is for and against this?
Maybe, but unintentionally. Like, I don't think they're like, oh, we're elite, so we should stop that. But like, they're used to doing things a certain way. So when this new thing comes along and they're like, hey, you know, that doesn't seem allowed, right? But they don't see that, oh, they've been doing this thing that's also not allowed. But like, it comes down to what's written in the rules, right? Like, there is no rule in the Pro Tour that says you can't scout. So they go ahead and scout, right? Are there rules about outside assistance in these online tournaments? If there's not, then yeah, people can do whatever they want. It's technically within the rules. But if they are written in the rules, then that is technically not allowed, right? So yeah, you're getting outside assistance, but you're getting outside assistance within the current rules allowable at a paper tournament, right? And, you know, big teams do have that advantage where they can send out a lot of scouts, right? Big teams have the advantage where you can play test and stuff like with your teammates before important matches. But those are all within the rules. So the question is like, should we codify the rules more explicitly for online tournaments? Should there be a single set of rules? Because I'm pretty sure every tournament organizer just makes up some random set of rules. Maybe there should be one official set that's applied to every tournament.
And I feel like you get in the same issue with scouting that, like, how do you ever enforce that? Like, how do you know if someone is quote unquote scouting or if they're just wandering around between their matches watching Magic, which a lot of people do at a tournament or a GP or something. So I kind of feel like you have the same issue where, like, I just don't know if it's practical or possible or even desirable to try to enforce the outside assistant thing in digital. Like, it just seems like so much work with such a minimal payoff and possibly like really hurting the entertainment value of the streams of the events if you did go to a system where you're going to like force everyone to have a long delay. And even that wouldn't like solve all the potential issues with outside assistance.
But is someone actually advocating like not allowing people to stream while they're playing?
Well, no, I don't think it's not allowing people to stream. It's more like Wizards could require, like, we have the technology to enforce this. Wizards could require everyone to stream. They could require them to have a webcam that is on so you can see where they're looking, make sure no one else is like in the room with them or whatever. So there are ways that you could try to make sure that people weren't getting outside assistance. Whether those ways would, you know, keep someone, I don't know, maybe you gotta not let your cell phone be on camera. I don't know why someone couldn't like text a friend or something and ask them a question.
Who's gonna monitor like 1,000 Magic players like playing like Uro and Oko, like
poor Watsy intern
for like 12 rounds. Right?
Oh, you the intern? Here you go. I got
they
something
finished
for you.
designing Historic Anthology 4 and now they're on to watching 1,000 Magic streams. Yeah, so Krim, wrapping back around to something you mentioned at the beginning that I thought was interesting. As a streamer, you play more tournaments than I do. I've done a few tournaments, but I don't really do tournaments. How do you deal with it personally? And this isn't a right or wrong thing. This is just how you deal with it personally. When you're streaming in a tournament, you mentioned like feeling weird about looking at some things chat said. Is that something as a streamer you try to avoid?
I don't necessarily, I like to look at chat as like kind of a, you know, like before you in school, you would have like an answer sheet, right? You're doing math problems. There's an answer sheet, yada, yada, yada. All the correct answers are there. You could have always looked at it, but instead of looking at it directly, I actually like taking the line that I'm going to take and then kind of going over to see if chat might have had some other lines or maybe the correct way of doing it. So that's why I always feel a little weird because I just feel like I should try it first on my own before I even, before I even look for the help.
Yeah. And
so
I think the other challenge would be like, you also want to interact with chat. So on some level, you can't avoid everything. Like, even if you are trying to avoid seeing something from chat that might influence your line, if you want to like say hello to the people coming in or shout out your like whatever, answer questions or shout out subscribers, you kind of got to look at chat. So it seems like you would incidentally maybe see some of that information, even if you're not trying to, just to like run a good stream. Like, some of that's going to happen incidentally.
Correct. Like, no matter what I do, I'm still going to see part of chat. Like, it's just going to happen, right? For exactly those reasons. Someone subs, someone, donates, anything along those lines. So you're going to see chat. However, it only feels weird for me when I look at chat in a tournament. When it's not at a tournament, I don't really like care, because it's like, it's not that like a high stakes thing. Like, oh no, I'm on the ladder, whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
So it really, I only really feel weird at tournaments.
What about accidental cheating? Like, let's say you're playing a match and you have no intention of cheating or anything. You're interacting with chat, and then some person in your chat goes to the other person's stream, looks at their hand, copies it down, dumps it in your chat, and you read it before the mods get to it, right? Like, what happens?
The few times I've done streams, I will say, the chat's been awesome. Like, they have been really good about stuff like that. But I usually just tell chat ahead of time, like, please don't do this. Like, and this would be the type of thing where you would get like timed out or like suspended from chat. So just try to give everyone fair warning that like, that's not what this is about. And so far, I have not really had any issues with that in the few times I've played tournaments. Have you had any issues with that, Krem? You've played more online tournaments than I have.
I mean, I've been pretty good about it. My chat hasn't been like, oh, well, because they actually know themselves to like kind of just watch over each other. Like, hey, he's in a tournament. Don't get him like kicked out or like suspended or something because, you decided to give hardcore outside assistance. So, yeah, there are some people who intentionally try to go in and just like, you'll have people where maybe they just want to see you get in trouble. So they'll just try to just say the answer. But luckily, my mods and everybody has been pretty good about like shutting it down instantly. So
yeah, and I think having good mods is definitely important if you're going to play tournaments online and have a relatively big audience. If you got like 2 people watching, then it probably is different. But
yeah, also like when there's a lot of people watching, the text moves pretty quick, right? Like let's be honest here. How many? You probably can't read every single line, if I'm being completely honest. Unless I am just sitting there and just hardcore scrolling up and down chat and like taking it all in. But yeah, I haven't had to worry about it. Luckily, my chat's been very good about it.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Richard mentioned like, oh, maybe like someone like LSV comes into your chat and actually has really good advice. I think once you have 500 or 1,000 or 1,500 people that are in your chat, I don't even know if that is all that helpful, because it is really hard to even see all the messages, for one. I think it's kind of impossible once you have a lot of people in your chat. And I'm sure that in those scenarios, there are really good Magic players giving really good advice with better plays than I'm figuring out, but it's just impossible to pick out those voices from the huge, crowd of people yelling different things and telling you how you punted or suggesting lines that just obviously don't work, or subscribing or donating or talking about what they had for breakfast. So I think once you have a lot of people in chat, it's really hard for you to get any outside assistance out of it for the most part, because it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah, like it's like a sensory overload, right? There's like 9,000 things going on simultaneously. So, like it's very difficult to like get actual outside assistance.
Oh, hold on, guys.
What do you guys
I
think
have
about-
a text message. It's Reduke. He's asking if he should scoop opponent play turn one watery grave.
The answer is yes. Outside assistance.
I didn't realize Reed Duke's Jun success came from texting Richard.
You didn't know Reed is just the front man. I'm just hiding in shadows.
Yeah.
I'm actually
the
father of Jun.
what you don't know
I
about
haven't
Richard.
seen Reed play many Strangleroot guys, so that works against
that is for when
argument.
his back against the wall and all hope is lost is when he sideboards them in, you know? He doesn't want to use the secret tech too early. It's not that point in the anime yet.
That's the tech right there.
So, what do you guys think about streaming with the delay for tournaments? I know my experience has been like, I won't even, if someone says you have to have a delay to do a tournament, at this point, I will probably not play the tournament.
Correct.
I'd rather just do a non-tournament stream and be able to interact with chat than do a tournament stream and not be able to interact with chat.
100% correct. Like that. All right. Like that's how I would look at it. As someone who would like, they've tried to ask me to do delays and but it's never been mandatory. They're just like, well, here you go. You know, do it with the delay if you'd like. And I never use the delay. Like if you want to come and stream snipe me, sure, whatever. I don't even care if you openly tell me you snipe me. Just leave a sub. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like I just don't care.
You can stream snipe me. Okay.
Yeah, Q snipe me, whatever, right? Like you go for it. Like and that's just kind of how my thoughts are on that as a whole. So if I don't even care if you're sniping me, then you know, like I definitely don't care enough to like, you know, be like, oh, delay. Because I once again would rather just have a good stream. Because having a good stream is higher EV than anything that could go on. Like, you know what I mean? Like having a stream that's like fun, interactive, and just enjoyable for the viewing experience is much better than like, yeah, the 10-minute awkwardness where I'll ask, you know, like, hey, today, how was the weather? 15 minutes later, oh, there was rain.
It's so awkward. Yeah. I'm exactly the same way. Like, the couple of times that I have had to stream with the delay, like in the distant past, I did not enjoy it at all. Like, and maybe it's just how I like to stream, where I like to interact with chat. I'm sure if you're someone who is mostly just playing and chat is kind of secondary, maybe it's not as big of a deal, but the way I stream, having a delay just absolutely kills it for me. I feel like I'm doing a YouTube video almost and like answering the comments like an hour after the fact, which is just so awkward on a stream.
Yeah, and I think most tournaments,
all right,
I was going to say most tournaments deal with this, right? Like the bigger you are, the more likely, and this bar is actually really low, the more likely is your EV from streaming is much higher than whatever the heck you're doing. So the minute you put rules on to like negatively impact the stream for the streamer will not participate, right? And if we're talking at like, you know, at tens of people or hundreds of people, you're already like, people are already making this choice. Like when a person that pulls in like 50,000 people, you know, they are the draw of the tournament, right? And if they don't want to come, your tournament just like took a big blow. So I think we'll just ultimately cater to the streamers, right? Which means that this is mostly for entertainment, right? It's a means of entertainment. This is not like the be all end all of competition. That's like for somewhere else. This is like, we're just having fun playing a tournament, right? There are some stakes, but like just don't take it super seriously. You know, allow people to do what they do normally, which is talk to chat, talk with your friends or whatever, right? Like stream normally. And I think that's the way tournaments will go going forward, because it'll be dictated by streamers, and the streamers won't be like, yeah, I'll put a 15-minute delay or I'll kill my stream. Like, no, right? They're not going to do it. So you have to cater to them.
And I assume it's higher EV for the company too, like, or the tournament itself. Like from Wizards' perspective, they would much rather have, you know, 20,000 people or 50,000 people watching entertaining streams of this tournament than having many fewer people not enjoying those streams and getting like a more paper-like result or whatever, like a higher level of competition or accuracy or whatever. So I think from Wizards' perspective too, they would much rather have good streams and slightly less competitive results for arena tournaments than have bad streams and have the equivalent of like a paper pro tour where everything is, you know, exactly by the book and there's no whiff of any outside assistance because it's on a delay and all that stuff. So I think it's a better choice for the game companies too, honestly. Anyway, any other thoughts on this topic before we hit up a couple other things today? Okay, so topic number 2. We got confirmation that Modern Horizons is coming out, or Modern Horizons 2 rather, is coming out a little earlier than I expected. Richard, when is MH2 dropping?
All right, so Wizards sent out a WPN update to stores. The answer is June 11th. Pre-releases start June 4th, but June 11th is the official release date. I don't know when preview season starts, but maybe a couple weeks before that. But we're looking at June for Modern Horizons 2.
Yeah, I would assume like midway through May probably would be spoilers, and then you have pre-release, and then you have release. So middle end of May most likely, which is fine because we're hitting Strixhaven here shortly anyway. So we're gonna have more spoilers through April. Is there anything in specific that you really want to see in the set? It could be a new card if you want to, although those are a little bit harder to design off the top of your head, or even a reprint. Is there anything you're really hoping shows up in Modern in MH2?
Fetchlands. What? Weird.
Well, I think you're going to be right, Krim.
like Fetchlands. Oh my gosh, gee golly. That's it, really. Fetchlands. That should be the first thing, right? That is all, like, that's the big elephant in the room. I'm sure they're already knowing, like, they know that when this comes out, the first thing people are going to ask is, where are the Fetchlands? Second, what I'd like to see is a broken Dimir card. All right, I would like no personal bias whatsoever. I would like to see a broken Dimir card. Give me like a super counter squall or something, like a 2-mana Dimir, like, I don't know, command or something, right? But at the same time, I have a strange feeling. How much do you want to bet on right now? Like right here, you can quote this episode. There's gonna be a broken Simic card that's going to have to get, or a green card that has to get banned.
Yeah, that is kind of a tradition the last couple of years, so I don't know if I would bet against that, honestly.
I'm willing to bet that there's going to be some broken green card that's going to make me punch my monitor.
I really want, and this is probably a bad idea. I want Force of Will. I want Force of Will in Modern. Give me Force of Will.
Or Seth, are you sure you want that? Or it might be better in theory, but do you actually want that? Because think about it. Force of Negation is already annoying, right? For some people. I mean, I like the card. Don't get me wrong. I love the card. But are you sure you want that?
You can just play Legacy, Seth. Like, if you want to cast Force of Wills, just play any older format. You want this to be a blue-only format?
Okay. Let me change that then. Not Force of Will. I want Force of Negation, Essence Scatter. Essentially Force of Negation, but for creatures.
Why would you?
If just having Force of Will is too good, because there's so many like creature combo decks at the heart of Modern. That's one of my big problems with Force of Negation. Like, sure, it's great if you're up against Ad Nauseam, but if they're like Heliod comboing you, or if they're Amulet Tightening you, or playing any of the other like creature-based Hammer Time combo decks, like, it just doesn't do much in those matchups. So how about that? How about Force of Negation, but for creature spells?
Good news for you, Seth.
That's fine.
I've granted your wish. It's called Slaughter Pact. like that's a free removal spell, right? Like,
okay? There would have to be Slaughter Pact with no paying on the upkeep, because that's a.
I mean, you just gotta play
literally
black,
free
right?
Slaughter Pact.
That's not bad.
No, you gotta pay black and 2 mana. Although you would then question, wait, hold on, how can we trust Krim? He did lose at a GP by not paying for his pact. So
yeah, Krim's like, what
really?
cost? There's no cost.
Wait, there's a cost? Why? What it was I was playing 2021 Magic in 2013. I think I'm just actually a time traveler. You don't know that yet. But legit, though, I think that a Force of Negation, but for creatures, is very possible. And it's also not great.
Yeah, like, why would you ever play that, right? You would never play that against a fair deck. You're just going to 2-for-1 yourself. And then would you main deck
counted
this?
Your Tarmogoyf.
Yeah,
No.
Would you main deck this? Like, how would you play this? I would just play Slaughter
I
Pact.
would never.
All right, back to Force of Will then. If that's not good enough.
See,
Let's
there's
just
this
go
weird
Force
line,
of Will.
right? Where, okay, what if it was Force of Will, but the cost to play it for free was much higher? So, like, let's say
Like mana, like 2 mana.
you can't. No. It'll still be free, right? But you'll, like, let's say, have to exile 2 cards that are blue.
Ooh, okay. I could see that.
Or-
Maybe a
or-
bigger drawback.
Or even better, like, you exile a blue card, but you lose life equal to the CMC of the spell.
Ooh, okay.
And I mean, I'm taking that a little bit from Yu-Gi-Oh, where there was a card called Solemn Judgment, where it would be essentially a counterspell, but you lose half your life.
You could even have it be lose half your life. Although then,
half your life
then maybe
feels-
just all the unfair decks play it.
Death
because they can
Shadow
afford
would
to lose half
jam
their
this
life. Yeah.
so fast. But yeah, like I guess that would be the one thing. Death Shadow would just immediately be the go-to deck. However, I don't know. Like I think a cost like that, right, would be pretty good.
What about you, Richard? Other than a improved 2021 Tarmogoyf.
I was just gonna say Force of Tarmogoyf.
It's called Tumagoyf. Tumagoyf. The sequel to
here
the
we go.
first Tarmogoyf.
You pitch a green card to cast Tarmogoyf for free, but the pitching is actually to your graveyard, so you get to power it up by 1 too, because it needs more power. And I don't even know if this is playable.
It's not. It's
right?
not.
But it's a good experiment. A Force of Tarmogoyf. How about instant
Tarmogoyf
speed?
would have to Helix and draw a card at 2 mana and have its vanilla, like its original star.
You're
ability.
slowly making Uro, which we can't have. But can we?
Oh, weird.
Instant speed Force of Tarmogoyf. So end of turn, I Force of Tarmogoyf, allowing me to untap and attack you for a good old like 3 damage. You know, like.
I love it. I think that would probably be safe for the format. And then it gets forced negation.
Yeah, Crib's gonna be like mocking it, but he's gonna be sweating. He's like, I'm gonna need to use the force. I'm gonna have to use the new force will. Pitch 2 blue cards.
I'm gonna be sweating it. I sure am.
He's like, Teferi Time Raveler. Okay, what?
Hold on. Legitimately, I don't remember the last time I saw a Tarmogoyf and was actually afraid. Like, if I lost, it wasn't because of Tarmogoyf. It was everything before the Tarmogoyf. It could have been like the 7 mana 1/1 from Scourge, and I would have lost.
But serious though, I don't want to see any cards from Modern Horizons 2. I am convinced that Modern will be ruined again on release of this set. They're gonna put some OP cards in. Modern is gonna play like 2021 Magic again, and I don't want to see these cards. I don't want to see more Fatal Pushes. I don't want to see more of those types of cards because they will print them to sell packs. And
I'm still a big Modern Horizons supporter. Like, yes, it caused problems. No denying that. Yes, some of the cards were too good. But I really love how it powered up a lot of underpowered decks and improved them. And it gave us some cards that were not broken, but arguably like pretty fun and interesting, like the Yawgmoths of the world that created an entirely new deck that is definitely tier 2 or tier 3, but it exists and you can do it now. So I guess maybe I'm just too much on the glass half full side of things, but I tend to focus on all the things I really liked about it and I don't know, block the Hogax and so forth out of my mind.
But they don't use Yawgmoth to sell the pack set. They have to put basically an Uro or an Oko in the pack to sell it, right? Like all the fun build around me cards are not what's selling the decks, right? Or the packs.
Yeah, that is true. And even like Ren and 6 is definitely like, that was one of the cards used to sell that set. And that was definitely on the edge of being too good and probably was too good for Legacy. So yeah. At the same time, some of the cards that broke the format the most were not the cards selling the packs. It was like Hogak was like, hey, this might be cool in Commander. And then it just like broke the format. Or Astrolabe, like Prophetic Prism -1 mana. That'll be fine. And then that broke the format. So it's not always the face cards that end up doing the breaking, I don't think, when it comes to Modern Horizons, at least.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about Astrolabes and Fatal Pushes than Hogak. Because like something like Hogak, like yeah, it breaks Modern for a while, but it's like very obvious and they just get rid of it. But something like Astrolabe just like sits around for basically forever, right? Fatal Push I still think is bad for the format. It's still here, right? Like stuff like that just lasts forever because it's not. It is 100%.
That is the Tarmogoyf player speaking.
It 100% does not allow you to play like fair decks, right? And this is why Modern doesn't play fair decks anymore, right? Like you just skew towards big finishers and like value engines because everything gets removed. But that is neither here nor there. I confirmed with Reduke. He agrees with me. But yeah, I just don't like these weird, I don't know, right? Like we like Modern for a reason, and Wizards is really like intent on selling packs, and they change Modern a lot, and Modern's not supposed to change that much. So I don't like Modern Horizons, but you know, if they make a Force of Tarmogoyf, I'll play it, you know.
I think I've just given up on Modern not changing, because it's not like 5 years ago when you got a new standard set and we were like scraping around to make a top 10 list. Like now every standard set has a bunch of stuff that's going to be like good to broken in Modern, it feels like. So I guess I've just given up on that, and I'm kind of like, what harm can Modern Horizons do that Wizards couldn't do in Strixhaven?
Or wasn't already going to do?
What?
Yeah.
It can harm Legacy, Vintage. I'm sure these players are very happy about their like $5,000 investment going out the tubes, right? Like,
yeah, that is true. Oh, well, it'll be interesting. But before we get to that, we have a whole Strixhaven spoiler season that's coming first, and that's going to be super exciting. We don't have new cards from Strixhaven yet, but we did get some new promos that came out this week. Richard, what cards are they giving away for the Japanese Planeswalker Championship? Whatever that is, I could not actually figure out what the tournament itself was, just what the promos for the tournament are.
Yeah,
I don't even know when that got confirmed, by the way. Like, when did that happen?
we can't figure out. So the Japanese Planeswalker Championship series has been going on for like 2 years minimum. It's like 2019 is when they started making promos for them. But the promos are with new art, Basri Ket, Vito, and Seasoned Hallowblade. And they are respectively first prize winner, top 8 winner, and participation. Given the quality of these cards and how they split it, it's got to be something like F&M or slightly bigger, but not like Grand Prix level, right? It's not like a expensive tournament given these cards, but probably maybe like better than Game Day, but worse than Grand Prix.
I mean, they're not bad promos. I guess Basri is a little bit of a dud as a Planeswalker. It hasn't really caught on too much. Vito's a card that people play a lot in Commander, and Hallowblade has seen a lot of play. I think Hallowblade is my favorite of the bunch, just because I think that's the one where the new art is most better than the old art, for me at least.
I think that all the artworks alone make me want them. But that's just because I really, really like the artwork. As for the cards, I would never play any of these. If I'm being honest, I would never play any of these. So, I'm a promo. Yeah, Basri's cool, but I would never. Once again, play style. I would never play it, right? But I would want to own these because these look sweet. Like I'm a promo guy, right? So I do love me some promos, and this looks amazing.
What do you think about having the place number on them? Do you like that or dislike that? I guess they've done it a little bit before, but I just haven't really noticed it. Do you think that adds or takes away from the aesthetic of the card?
I like it. I like the place on it. I mean, I think it'd be cooler if there was first, second, and third, but then that means now we're talking about like 5 promos as opposed to like just 3 being printed.
I mean, given that anyone can just buy these all the time, like I don't think it means anything, right? But I don't know, it's fine. It'd be cooler if it was like arena locked or something, right? Where like if you had a first place Basri, it meant you won something, right? Nah, I just bought it from the store and like
on arena, like you win the thing, and what they'll do is they'll just put like your actual face on the card. Like as in they'll be like, hey, send us a screenshot of your face and we will literally just upload it onto the card.
So you're not going to be more scared, Richard, if your opponent plays a Basri Cat with a number 1 on it compared to a normal Basri? You're not going to be like, whoa, that person must be really good at Magic.
No,
I mean,
no. Just like I ignore like your mythic frame on arena. You know what I actually respect? The one on Moto. I'm like this person's played a lot, right? Like
I don't understand the frames on Moto, so I'm never entertained.
Just when it's the mythic color, like they played a lot, right? And like,
really?
This poor soul has played a lot of Moto.
So I do think it's kind of a funny flex, though.
Yeah,
like my number 1 Basri.
Honestly, if you play the Basri and like I would just, if I won it, right, and it was like an exclusive to you thing, and even though Basri's not playable, like I would play it in my Esper control deck, right? Just like, hey, check it out.
Yeah, when Mono White became the best deck in Standard for a bit, and Basri still didn't see any play, that's when I kind of realized that it probably wasn't going to happen for Basri.
You didn't play Birds. So.
Not yet.
Basri's not that bad.
Oh, all right. I think we have some fish mail. We don't have any more big topics, so Richard, fish mail us.
All right. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. First question, @Ermeet. I was planning on a Mirage draft for my 40th birthday, but the price spiked for sealed products. I realized that it would be unfeasible. This made me sad and led me to wonder, how do you guys deal with nostalgia?
Ooh. I think for me, Commander is a really good nostalgia format. I think that is the main way that I get my nostalgia fix is because Commander is so like casual depending on your play group, but because it's designed to be a casual format, you can play kind of whatever you want for the most part and make your deck at least somewhat functional if you have some decent support cards. So I think that's the easiest way to get the nostalgia fix.
Yeah, that would be my go-to, just playing Commander. I mean, you could just do what I do and force it anyways and then lose, but like in a 60 card format, but just don't be upset when you lose because you're like, oh. I mean, like example, I I filmed a video recently because, Historic Anthology came out. What my in hand was the best looking hand I've ever seen in my life. It was 2 Think Twices and a Sphinx's Revelation. I lost, but the thing here is, but like I casted Think Twice. I drew 2 cards for 5 mana. I love Think Twice. Is that a good card though? No, that's definitely a pet card. And it's just fun playing it.
So sealed is really tough. I remember I was looking into getting some Fallen Empires cards. So like a set of Fallen Empires is like $50, like one of every single. Like a sealed box is like hundreds of dollars. So like the old sealed products are just really hard because they're just rare, right? It's not because they're particularly valuable or anything. It's just you just cannot find a sealed box of something that's old. So that will be super tough. I don't know how to get around that. Wait for Mirage Remastered draft. I don't know. Make up fake packs and draft like with an online thing. So maybe draft like Moto if Moto brings back Mirage Draft or something at some point. I don't know. It's tough with sealed because sealed is super expensive, even if it's not worth anything.
Do either of you have a guess at what a sealed Mirage booster box costs today?
250.
500.
The cheapest one on eBay, buy it now, is $6,697, and there's several in the like $8,000 to $20,000 price range.
What's the EV of Mirage?
All right.
Like $5.
Goldfish Mirage draft. Next GP Vegas.
You got LED that's $700, Phyrexian Dreadnought's $120, and then nothing else in the set's over
$50. Is Dreadnought reserve
$50,
list?
so.
Why is it so expensive?
It is reserve list.
Because it's played in a lot of Lazov EDH decks. That's actually not why. That's just why I love it.
Okay, so new plan: buy some Bitcoin.
All right,
buy some GME.
Yes, you have to buy. Buy some GME.
Off to a strong
Use
start.
the profits to get a Mirage box and open $50 worth of cards for your $7,000 investment.
I like it. Let's go. That's just brilliant. It's a good investment.
Kershanik Caleb, do you think more decks would be possible with Shocklands, Checklands, and Pathways in Standard, or do you think they influence the archetypes of the Standard meta? Do you think decks would be more possible? So if we put Shocklands, Checklands, or Pathways into Standard, do you think the meta would change? I think that's what this is asking.
I'm not really sure, to be honest with you, because like in this Standard, I mean, if anything, it just makes it more like ridiculous, right? You're going to see more like 4-color piles, 5-color piles and stuff like that, right? So I you know what? I could see that. Having a really good mana base has always allowed like think cons, right? Stuff like that. And even Ravnica or whatever, like Return to Ravnica 3, Tokyo Drift, whatever, that one. Like that one had really good mana bases. And like, don't get me wrong, when mana bases are amazing though, I have enjoyed that Standard. I will admit that though. So
yeah, I kind of think it wouldn't make a huge difference. Like, really? I think, I mean, I guess it would make some amount of difference, but I feel like mana in Standard's already pretty good. And I'm not sure if
No.
just like adding like shocklands on top of it, does that open up new archetypes? I feel like more good dual lands kind of have diminishing returns in standard.
So I think you will get a lot more like 3, 4, 5 color pile good stuff decks, which I don't like. But at the same time, like standard always is in this weird place where there's usually like a set of pair colors that works, either enemy or allied, and then the other ones have like jank mana. Like they don't have the untapped lands, like you just can't play it, right? Because like they don't have the untapped lands to do it. So I would like to see a set of lands that works for like 2 color decks, but not 3 color decks. And they give that to all colors so that you can play any colored pair with really good mana, but you can't just play like a 4 color good stuff deck.
I don't see. The thing is, I don't know how you do that. How you balance that to where it's not good in a 3 color deck.
If you control more than X non-basics or something, like they don't work. I don't know. I'm sure Wizards can figure it out.
Still stunks. I feel like that still dunks on your 2 color deck.
Yeah,
right?
that does. Magic banding. I ordered Bob Ross lands, but there was a cross up at the factory. Foils and non-foils switch. Did you guys hear about this? Seth, have you opened your Bob Ross lands?
No, but there's good news on that. The good news is Wizards actually realized they made a mistake. They posted an article about it, and if you get the wrong ones, they're going to send you the right ones for free and let you keep the wrong ones. So apparently some foils and non-foils got mixed up, and people who ordered foils got non-foil, people who ordered non-foil got foil. So the solution is you're going to get 2 for the price of 1, essentially.
Yeah.
I gotta open mine. Mine is in this box because I forgot about it because I ordered it like literally half a year ago. And then I'm like, what is this package? I don't know. And I just left it there. I'm like, wait a minute. That's got to be the Bob Ross lands.
I don't have anything to do with them at the moment, so I don't really know if there's any reason to open them up until I actually have something to do with them.
Time to bust out the joy of painting and start recreating them.
You could probably buy or build all your commander decks, paper commander decks. It's possible, right?
I like my lands to match, though, Grim.
Oh, well,
you're
a monster.
I've totally flipped on this stance now since I only play like commander. Before I used to be a strict everything matches person. Now I'm like everything mismatch.
Yes, Richard, join us.
Because I'm like, look, there's so many cool arts. I need to fit them all in my deck. I can't do that. I don't have like 20 mono white decks. Okay, so I gotta like jam them all in the same deck.
That's precisely it. You get to enjoy more of Magic's art if you mismatch. Now, soon, you'll truly understand when you add white border.
I like white border. I play white border all the time. I'm original printing kind of guy. I will take white border any day.
Right. So you're a fan of the 9th ed stuff. Like, I love me some 9th
No, 9th ed is gross. I like revised. It has to have the faded look.
Oh, I like the gross look because it's also the meme value. Like 90% of it is a lot of meme value, and I do love my memes.
It shows that I care about the authentic card, but I'm like too cheap to like actually get the original like beta cards. I'll go with revised. Next question. It's Brews Day. Are we at this point? Are we at the point where reserveless prices where I should just find one of each card I have and lock them away? Can we expect even totally unplayable ones to have a ton of value eventually?
Maybe. Like, probably. I think that's the most likely outcome. I think we're already there for the most part. Like, not insane value, but if you just... I have Mirage pulled up because we were talking about it earlier. There's a surprising number of really bad cards that are like $10 to $20 or $30. Like, so many cards. Yeah. So, or Worship? Wait, what card?
Ghost Ship.
Oh, Ghost Ship. I don't think Ghost Ship, was that from Mirage?
Is that not from Mirage?
Was that a
Salting Ghost appears to be from Mirage, but yeah, I don't think it was actually from Mirage. So the question is, like, is there still going to be interest in Magic? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's from growing up in the 90s and like having sports cards when I was a little kid and thinking, these are probably going to be worth money someday. And then realizing that no, they're never going to be worth money because people stopped caring about it. So as long as Magic remains a collectible, which I think is likely, then I think the price on reserve list cards just keeps going up unless Wizards gets rid of the reserve list. So yeah, I mean, I would just take one of each reserve list card that you have and aren't using and stick it in a binder somewhere and wait another 10 years and see. Maybe you'll have, money to buy a car or something with all your bulk rares.
Oh, you talk about what were those things? Like Beanie Babies. Do you remember this? Like
Are those still worth $1 billion?
I think they're worth zero. No? Are they actually worth a lot still?
I don't know. I remember at one point there was this huge the Beanie Babies were so expensive, right?
Yeah, and then we've never heard about them ever again, right? Same with comic books, same with sports cards. Like there will be
books
some
never tanked.
There will still be some innate value in the cards, right? Like just because you can't get them anymore. But I don't know if they would maintain the same price if Magic wasn't popular. So I don't know. It's if you have them, I guess. Just keep them if they're cheap. But let's say they're expensive. Should you sell them or should you keep them? What do you think, Seth? If you're not playing with them.
Oh. So I think if they're really expensive, like Black Lotus in that era, I would probably consider keeping them. But if they're outside of that range of like the 10 most collectible cards that are probably always going to maintain value, current prices are so high that I would be tempted to sell. Would I regret it eventually? Maybe, but...
Let's say Phyrexian Dreadnought. So obviously if you have a Black Lotus, there's like some merit to keeping it because it's such a sought after card. But like a middling card like Dreadnought where it's played, it's expensive, but it's not like the greatest Magic card ever made.
I would... Oh, jeez. I would be tempted to sell it. Especially if you can get anywhere near retail price. Like, I don't know. That's a lot of money. Like, I remember buying and selling them for like, when I was buying collections for like $20 or something just a few years ago. And now it's 120. Can it just keep going up like that? I would be tempted just to cash it out and spend it on cards that you would play. Something non-Magic related.
I'm already going to like get rid of all my reserve list cards. So,
are you selling all your dual lands?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a whole new like base equipment setup with like a new Ampeg head, all of that, and then I'm just gonna play some because like I don't use them, right? I mean, sure, I can play them, but like why? Like they don't do anything.
That seems logical.
That's a good argument.
I mean,
right?
Pieces of paper in your binder or a whole new setup, right? Like,
yeah, right. Like I can have my third work computer and a new base setup and all of that for just all my dual land stuff. And it's just like I don't even really use them. Like fetch lands are a different story because I do use those. So, but duels, whatever, right? Like I don't care about duels. I mean, it's gonna be weird to like get rid of like a Gilded Drake, which I bought for like $30 at GP like San Jose, and complained the whole time that I paid $30 for an EDH card. But yeah, like whatever.
I think I will sell all my reserve list cards. Actually, so I have like a whole bunch of legacy decks, and they're just sitting there, and they were good for like 5 years. But given that like my legacy decks are no longer relevant. Like, what is the point of keeping these decks? It's like a meme deck at this point, right? Like, what's the point of playing these cards? So, should I just cash out?
Honestly, I'm actually going to do it because I don't see a purpose in keeping them. Like, I mean, sure that you don't necessarily lose anything by holding on to them either, though, right? Like you don't like currently you don't lose anything. I mean, but who knows? Maybe one day all of a sudden, the reserve list is undone, and then but for right now, I mean, you don't really hurt yourself at all for holding on to them. I think they're only increasing in value. However, I am going to get rid of them because it's like, sure, a lot of things can increase in value, but am I ever going to get rid of them? Like, that's the question. And by the time I do get rid of them, it might be too late. So I just rather get my thing out of it, my value out of it now, because I've already exponentially had like, it's already like multiplied a silly amount than what I had spent on it.
But there's so much meme value in playing like a boomer deck. Like you go to a Grand Prix, like, you want to play Legacy? I'm like, sure. Would you like to see like 2013 Stoneblade?
Oh boy!
The thing is, you're never gonna get the cards again. Like that's the drawback.
Yeah.
Like there's no way you're gonna like someday be like, oh, I'm gonna spend $1,000 a copy to get my Tundras again or something. So once you sell them, like you're probably crossing Legacy off your list forever. I think for me it definitely makes sense. It definitely makes sense to me from Crim's perspective when he's like, hey, here's this thing that I would use way more than those, and I can sell these cards to get that thing. If you're just like, I don't know, like I guess I'll put some more money in my bank account. There's not really any reason. I don't know. Is there any harm in holding on to him a little bit longer at that point?
Not really. Like example, like I'm just getting rid of it because like I have more things I could do with all of the loose funds just laying around from what is the reserve list cards, right? But if you don't need anything, like, or if you don't like care about some stuff, like you don't need anything, then just whatever, right? Just hold on to them. You're not hurting yourself in any way. You're not losing value. But although the higher it gets, the harder these cards will be to move. Just remember that too. Like it's not like every day, like, oh, is that a Black Lotus? Sure, yeah, I'll pick one up. No, you have to go and do like a crazy rigorous process, and then you can get rid of it.
What if I sell all my cards and buy like a single Mox?
So you traded paper into more paper. You essentially
I could like frame the Mox and like put it on the wall and be like, look, and then
frame your duels.
Get robbed.
There's more of them. Yeah.
Investment wise, that makes sense. I think. Like, I think if you're thinking of it like someday as an investment, I think I'd rather have a Mox or a Black Lotus than a bunch of like lower tier reserve list stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we went totally off topic, but thank you to everyone who sent in fish mail this week. If you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 320 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard, Crim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes down in the world of Magic. So until then, have a great week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.